When she starts walking, both of us will go to school. Hello, my name's Korede and welcome to Vimoye, a people-led movement to build Africa. And this is Triggered, where we react to information coming from the continent together. Okay, let's go.
A sharp increase in rape of women and young girls is deeply worrying this community. People here complain that rape has become so widespread that women can no longer leave the camp unaccompanied. Amnesty International in a recent report detailed how girls as young as 9 and 10 years were being raped, at times by the very security personnel charged with protecting them. News that a 10-year-old displaced rape victim has delivered in Benue a few days ago has sent shockwaves across Nigeria.
I don't want my daughter to go through the same suffering as I did. When she starts walking, both of us will go to school.
When she starts walking, both of us will go to school. So the story here is that Nigeria's rape issue has come to the forefront again. Amidst all that is happening all over the world with regards to George Floyd, many countries have taken it as an opportunity to bring up issues in their own country. So Nigerians have taken to Twitter and Instagram to express their disgust with regards to how women are treated in Nigeria, specifically with regards to rape. One thing that's particularly notable is that we are even hearing from celebrities, which is usually not the case when it comes to anything remotely political. Celebrities in Nigeria have been known to avoid such conversations on social media, but we have seen the likes of Tiwa Savage chiming in on this occasion, starting the hashtag We Are Tired. So a few of the hashtags that have been trending over the course of the week have been Justice for Uwa, a 22-year-old student from Southern Edo State who was raped, beaten and killed. The police and the governor have pledged to open an investigation with regards to her death. Justice for Jennifer, an 18-year-old raped in Kaduna State by 5 men. 2 of the men have been apprehended and 3 are still at large, but the police have said that they will seek to apprehend them. Justice for Barakat, an 18-year-old who was raped and killed in her own home in Ibadan. And the one that just completely takes me out, is the hashtag Fresh Start for Farashina, a 12-year-old girl who was raped by 11 men in Jigawa State. All the men have been apprehended and of course will be prosecuted. But for me, that just doesn't seem to be enough. I mean, I don't know what I want, but what is going on here? So I decided to take a look at the rape law in Nigeria. Unsurprisingly, rape is a criminal offence and the sentence attached to it is life imprisonment. Now, life imprisonment looks like 2 different things depending on where you are. If you are under the penal law in Nigeria, that is seen as 20 years. If you are under the criminal law in Nigeria, there is no stipulated amount of time that is attached to life imprisonment. So that should suggest life means life, but it is open to interpretation by each state. And interpret it they have. In reality, we see that perpetrators of this heinous crime receive 5 to 7 years. And in 1 or 2 cases, we have seen that they have received 7 lashes and they've gone on their way. 7 lashes. God punished the person that gave that punishment. After ruining a woman's life, the consequence is lashes. In addition to that, the number of convictions that have been secured is difficult to really quantify, purely because of shoddy record keeping. But according to the International Center for Investigative Reporting, between 1973 and 2019, approximately Wait for it. Y'all ain't ready. 65 convictions have been secured. 65. At the end of the day, this really comes down to the fact that women in many societies are seen as chattel, to be owned, to be conquered, to be dominated. And as long as we see women as possessions, we're going to continue going round in circles about this situation. We need to raise men that respect women. We have tried, I repeat, we have tried to raise women who are considerate of men. We have asked them to dress modestly and they'll be fine. Please tell that to Barakat, who was a woman who dressed modestly in full hijab, her entire attire, and was raped and killed. We have asked women to stay at home, to not go out at night, and they'll be fine. Please tell that to Farashina and all the other women who were raped during the day. It has not worked. It hasn't worked. When will we realize that this is not the victim's problem? It is the way we raise our men. We cannot leave this to the law because it has shown us its inadequacies and its limitation to dealing with this situation. This is the responsibility of our society. We need men to educate men. We need mothers to educate their sons. We need fathers to educate their sons. We need sisters to educate their brothers. We need community leaders to stand up against this, to speak out and say that this is wrong, and to re-educate, to actively, proactively re-educate their followers. It is everyone's responsibility to re-educate men about the role of women in society. If we commit to this, then perhaps we'll begin to see a change in this unfortunate situation. There is hope. Here are a list of organizations working to improve this situation in Nigeria, and these are their Instagram handles. Stand to End Rape is an organization that provides legal aid and support for those who have experienced rape. The Mirabel Center provides medical and psychosocial services. Women at Risk International Foundation provides initiatives that impact health, education, and community services. The African Women's Development Fund, which provides grants to organizations fighting for women's human rights. So if you're looking to start something yourself, definitely check them out. Africans have taken to the streets in solidarity with their US counterparts and also to protest the police brutality that they are also subjected to. As I mentioned in the last episode, that police brutality has actually soared during the time of COVID-19. And it seems like Africans are saying enough is enough. We love to see it. This is fantastic. We need to be proactive in telling our governments and our government officials what we want and what we deserve. My only fear is our ability to keep the steam going, to hold on until we see change. I think over the last few years or decades, protesting has kind of lost its luster, its appeal on the continent, because we stopped seeing immediate results, and so we decided that it wasn't working anymore and kind of just accepted our fate. But that's simply not true. Protests definitely work on the continent, and history is littered with examples. Let's look at the late 80s, for example. 16 sub-Saharan African countries protested against the political repression and economic hardship that they were facing. The result, 21 governments across the continent made economic and political reforms that we can directly link back to those protests. It even marked the start of multi-party elections in 5 African nations. What I found particularly interesting is that though only 16 countries protested, 21 governments were affected. That means 5 other countries saw what was happening in neighboring regions and said, if we don't want this to break out here, we better do something. That is the power of the people. So I decided to look at what makes a protest effective. And when I speak of protests, I'm not talking solely of marches. I'm talking about boycotts or any other political fueled action that stands against something that we are not happy about, that maybe our governments are doing, or to bring about social change. So throw that all in the mix here. That would also include tweeting and lobbying the government. Number 1, the major participants of a protest must be the nationals of that country. Now, that's not to say that international intervention doesn't help. It could be part of getting things started in a country, but it certainly isn't the thing that's going to bring about change. It is the people standing up for themselves that brings about change. That means waiting on some international body to intervene to help us out isn't going to work. Number 2, protesters are more effective when they are diverse. So specifically in terms of their social class. So when the rich and the poor and everyone in between come together, they are more powerful. When we have one social class complaining, it's easy to ignore them. But when we realize that everybody's mad, governments get shooketh and they realize that they actually have to answer back. They have to do something in order to quell the situation. That's why when Tiwa Savage spoke out about the rape situation in Nigeria, that was a major thing, because it meant that celebrities were now standing with the people and saying that we're done with this. Enough is enough. And that makes a big difference. Number 3, protesters must be organized and unified in their goal and the action that they take. Let's take the example of a boycott. If my friends and I decide that we're going to boycott an international company, the only people that are going to lose out is myself and my friends. Because guess what? They're not going to notice, man. They're not going to notice. There is power in everybody who is protesting something coming together and taking the same action. This was clear when Americans decided to boycott Ivanka Trump's clothing company because they were protesting Trump becoming president. In just 1 year, sales dropped by 45% and they ended up having to close the company. Number 4, effective protesters don't let up first. And what I mean by this is that in many cases, governments will hold out to see whether this is just a reaction that will eventually subside, or whether we mad, like we angry and we're not going to stop until change comes. It is only when we continue to apply pressure that our governments sit up and listen. One of the greatest examples of groups that do not let up until they see change would be the animal rights activists. I genuinely am impressed by how they will hold out until they see change. For example, the animal rights activists boycotted The Body Shop for 11 years until The Body Shop announced that they were no longer going to test on animals. We all need that kind of commitment to the cause. But I will say that had they had more people in their corner, I guarantee it wouldn't have taken as long. The reality is that the more people, the quicker the change. Guys, democracy is an active thing. It isn't something that happens every 4 years at the polling station. It is our responsibility to keep our governments accountable. We've been shouting power to the people for the longest time, but do we actually know what that means? I'm preaching to myself too, because at the beginning of every episode, I say that Vimoye is a people-led movement to build Africa. And though our focus will be on education and improving the education system, as well as empowering future generations, I realize now that moving forward, Vimoye must be more than that too. In order for us to see change on the continent, we have to be active citizens. And what I mean by that is that we have to play an active role in democracy. We have to do our bit so that democracy works. That means we speak up when something is wrong and we don't stop until we see change. We want to help you guys find the thing that makes your heart bleed. And what I mean by that is that the thing that you can't stop thinking about, the thing that makes you so upset that you want to see change so badly in it. That's why I added the details of organizations that are trying to combat the rape problem in Nigeria, so that you can get in touch with them and you can be a part of that, if that is the thing that makes your heart bleed, if that's the thing that really, really got you. And I hope to add that to episodes moving forward, so that we are building groups of people that will bring about change. If you'd like to commit to being an active citizen, then do let me know in the comment section. Also, follow us on Instagram, where we'll continue to disseminate information. Finally, share this video. We all need to realize that we have a part to play in making democracy work. Because here's the beautiful thing about democracy. Too many cooks cannot spoil this broth. In fact, the more the cooks, the better the broth. Mant. So let's get the message out. Democracy isn't dead on the continent. We just haven't been doing it right. So, I mean, the tweet speaks for itself, but the story here is that a guy spoke to his mate who locked up his 26-year-old son, and the mate was trying to tell him that you can't do that. And the mate that he was talking to was like, listen. The translation of the Yoruba bit was that I support what those guys are doing out there. I support the protesters, but I can't cry for my child. The people in the comment section went off. And I myself was quite triggered by this for obvious reasons. I mean, how can we allow other people to fight for us if we aren't willing to fight for ourselves? Many people said this is why Africa is the way it is, because nobody wants to sacrifice. And so without sacrifice, how do we move forward? And I completely understand that sentiment as well, because with everything that I've already spoken about, if nobody joins the fight, then nothing is going to change. We will continue as we are, we'll continue to look at each other. But at the same time, I completely understand what he's saying. Nobody wants to cry for their child. And I'll leave you with a comment that was left by one of the people on Twitter underneath this tweet. And it said, do you think that those out there don't value life? And that really got me, because it is because they value life that they are out there. It's because a man's life was taken that they are out there protesting, so that we don't lose more lives to the same police brutality, so that someone else doesn't have to cry for their son or their brother or a family member. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. That's it from me today. I hope you guys enjoyed that episode. Please do let me know what you thought about the topics we covered in the comment section. And if you can't wait all the way till next week to find out what's going on the continent, follow us on Instagram, where we keep you guys posted. And make sure you have subscribed to this channel so you don't miss out on any other episodes. Until next week, stay safe. Bye. Vimoye is a people-led movement to build Africa, and we're starting with education. We want to improve the access to education for those on the continent, and we are taking a holistic approach to doing that. So we're not just looking for teachers, we're looking for people with so many different skills that can be a part of the building process. If that resonates with you in any way and you really want to be a part of actually changing the narrative of the continent, then please do get in touch with us. You can find us on Instagram using the @Vimoye Foundation. Together, I really do believe that we can build the Africa we've always known was possible.